Yu-Gi-Oh! Pros, come for my head. Alright, so new channel, new stuff. Obviously, I said in my first video, I want to make Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos for the everyman. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Everyman, I want to make things that are accessible and unite the pro with the casual. Because I think I'm somewhere in between. That might be being a bit generous towards myself, but hey, so, regardless, I just want to make it perfectly clear where I stand before we go any further. So I'm going to show you my favorite deck. My strongest deck, I hope. This is the deck, the aforementioned deck that took me to the semi-final in locals back in, what, 2005? It is a long stretch from what it was back then. You know, like they say, every atom in your body comes through and leaves and dies and changes anew. About a cycle every 7 years, is it? That's kind of what this deck is like, because this deck is nothing like the contents of what it was when I was 7. But it's technically still the same deck that I've been swapping cards in and out of for the past 20 years. And the theme of this deck is, you guessed it, as it always has been, the Dark Magician. Now, the more that I learn as I progress through my knowledge in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro gang, I learn more and more that people just don't seem to like this guy right here, the Dark Magician. They say he's lame. They say he's not very good at competitive play. Of course, everyone much prefers the Summon Skull and his Arc-themed archetype, because, the Summon Skull, he only needs one tribute to bring out, and he's got the same attack points, and he came out in the same booster set as Dark Magician, so Dark Magician was obsolete as soon as he got released. Shut up! Does Summon Skull have a sick magic staff? Does Summon Skull have a girlfriend? I don't think so. So we press on, and let's see my defense case for the Dark Magician, as I show you the deck that I think kicks buns. Okie doke, so I don't really have what's called a side deck as much, because this deck has not seen competitive play many years, and I don't think I even carried a side deck back then, because I was 7. I don't have any critical thinking. If I lost to some guy with bringing Chaos Emperor Dragon, I just think, oh, he cheated. I don't need to swap out some cards to, you know, amend my strategy for what opponent I may face next. No, I didn't have a side deck. A side deck is, of course, what people will take into tournament play, consisting of 15 cards or less, which allows them to swap in and out from their deck, just to, for situational cards that they may need for a certain opponent with a certain strategy. So the side decks in tournaments tend to consist of what we call hand traps, which are not necessarily trap cards, but they are usually monsters, can be traps as well, that you can activate from your hand, which is considered to be the strongest form of getting back at an opponent right now, because, you can never see what's in your hand. You never know if you're going to have a trap there. If you put it on the field in a spell and trap zone, the back row, obviously your opponent's going to be like, oh, there's a thing there. Bye-bye! Because there's many cards that can do that, but there aren't that many cards that can discard from the hand, and even fewer that can discard a specific card from the hand, so Anyway, let's get to it. We'll get to those in a second. Let's start off with, of course you've seen it, the Dark Magicians. Now, obviously none of these cards existed back in 2005 or so. The Dark Magician didn't have nearly as much support as he has right now. I'm very happy to see that he does, though, because this card is crazy. So the fusion requirement for it is a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl, plus another Spellcaster monster. So you could do the Dark Magician and the Dark Magician Girl, as is represented in the card art. By the way, I don't know how well you can see it. I just love the Dark Magician's outfit in this card. So good! If any spell or trap card is activated outside of the damage step, you can draw a card. Capped with a once per turn, but still, just card advantage built into activating spells and traps. That's either you or your opponent, so you're just going to get an extra card every turn, because there's no way that you're not going to activate any spells or traps each turn. That's bonkers. And not only that, if you draw that card and it was a spell or trap, you can set it, and if it was a trap or quick play spell, you can activate it this turn. That is just really good. And then if it's destroyed, you can just summon back the Dark Magician and the Dark Magician Girl to your field. So you lose it, you get 2 monsters. That's barely a downside to losing this guy. Awesome stuff. And obviously you can just bring him back again if you've got yourself a monster reborn, which I'm going to tell you something, guys, I do. Next up we have the Quintet Magician. For a while, yeah, I didn't get this card, I should mention. Big props to Legendary Duelist Season 3. Amazing, oh sorry. Ooh. Amazing pack, because when these crazy cards drops, I mean you're going to see them, because I've got them all thanks to this box. When the original crazy support cards dropped for the Dark Magician, I think back in 2019, again, I was on a Yu-Gi-Oh! Downslope, and I didn't even hear about these cards. Coming back into it, I looked on eBay, and the cards were all running for about $50 a pop, so I didn't want to really go into that. But this allowed me to get some beautiful reprints of all these fantastic cards, and beef out my Magicians tenfold. So yeah, next up we have the Quintet Magician. I had him for a few years because this is, I think this came out in the Dual Power box set, which had all the the boss monsters from the first 6 animes. Anime. Now this guy kind of hard to bring out, 5 spellcaster monsters, but ooh, it's worth it if you can. And I've got a great card that also pairs up well with this guy, and of course the Dark Magicians because it's another fusion monster. We'll get to that later. You know what it is? It's Magical Eyes Fusion. But better yet, if you get all the fusion materials for this to be different printed names of cards, you can just obliterate your opponent's field. Tell me that's not amazing. It's worth it. And he can negate effects, he can, whatever, like, negate destruction. Daybreaker, the Shining Magical Warrior. Okay, so they've released 3 Spellcaster structure decks, I believe, in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm pretty sure. Number 1 was Spellcaster's Judgment. That was the 6th ever structure deck. Sucked ass. But that was what I used in the tournaments. It was not that good. Then came Spellcaster's Command, which was in the 5Ds era. That one was pretty good. That introduced the Endymion cards, which and all the support for the spell counters, which that really beefed out my deck for the first time. I've got a lot of Endymion support in here because it's just really good spellcaster archetype. Blends well with the Dark Magician as well. You don't need Dark Magician in this deck. It could just be an Endymion deck, but I really like Dark Magician. And then third came Order of the Spellcasters, and this was obviously the Vrains era because it's a Link monster. Now I left this guy out of the deck for the longest time because when I got the deck, I didn't know what Link monsters were, and I didn't want none of that noise. So I recently learned what they do, and he's kind of cool, but I've not gotten to properly play him yet because just added him. So then of course we have Endymion. So this is the guy from the Order of the Spellcaster's Command, 5Ds deck. Boss monster in that. He's just a good card, because you bring him out with the Endymion Citadel, got 2 of those in this deck, and he can just add a spell from your graveyard to your hand. Good stuff. Blizzard Princess. This one's kind of an outlier. I just found it on eBay, and it's a damn good card. It's 2800 attack, 2 tributes of course, but you can tribute 1 Spellcaster type monster to bring it out on the field, and if you do, and you normal summon it, your opponent cannot activate spells or traps for the rest of that turn. Ooh, sorry, bucko. Hey. Oh. We'll get that later. Oh, who's this guy? I know him. Who's this guy? This, of course, is the Dark Magician. A man after my heart. Just look at him. Look at him. Right, he's just fun. I just like him. I know his flavor text says the ultimate wizard in terms of attack and defense. I know that's not true. I know it was never going to be true. I think the second pack or the third pack that Yu-Gi-Oh! Released already nullified this text, but it's just funny, you know? It's one of those things you look back at. I have plenty of prints of Dark Magician, but these are the 3 that I've chosen to keep in my deck. This is the first ever, not first edition. But yeah, the starter deck Yugi print from back in, what, 2002? I think technically the Dark Duel Stories Game Boy game, was that the first print? Those go for hundreds of dollaroonies on the internet right now. I could never get my hands on one of those. I would love to someday. But yeah, so these are the 3 I've chosen. So that's Dark Side of Dimensions, that's the gold rare from the movie packs, and that's just the pack that came in the Legendary Collection with the God cards. I think that released, what, in like 2018? Something like that. Moving on, we got Dark Magician of Chaos, because of course we have, even though his effect got nerfed in one of the erratas, as I said last video, that's when they nerf an effect of a pre-existing card. Don't worry about that. Of course, we have Dark Magician Girl. Now, even less of a reason to have her in the deck, because even less attack and even less direct support for this card, but you know, I just like her. I have had this card since, again, I was like 7. Got it in a promo tin. Look at that secret rare fucking sheen. Just really nice. And I have an even better excuse to keep her in now because of the Dark Magicians she can apply to that. So, suck my ass. Then we got Palladium Oracle Mahad. I think that's how you say his name. Got 2 of those because that's just great card. If you draw it, you can summon it, and it has 2500 attack. And that's not a normal summon, that's a special summon, so you can still summon on your turn. Crazy stuff. And then he's destroyed, for whatever reason, bring out a Dark Magician. So that is just 2 monsters back to back, 2500 attack on the field. Why would you not have, I mean, kind of should have 3 of them in the deck, but the reason I haven't is because, obviously the downside to him is his effect is negated if you start with him in your hand at the start of the game, which I have done. Really annoying, because that doesn't count as a draw, so you can't special summon him, and then that's just kind of a 2 tribute brick in the hand. So I refrained from 3 copies in this deck. But then we have Apprentice Illusion Magician, which I didn't even think to have in my deck for a while, but pulled her in the Legendary Duelist pack, and going through her effect, it's just a really good effect. I never thought about it, but geez, man. It's like, because this, obviously, she functions as a hand trap, as we mentioned before. She can activate the effect if she's on the field, but she can also do it in your hand. So during the damage step, you can increase one of your monster's attack by 2000. That is kind of like a spellcaster version of Honest, which is obviously also a staple in competitive play. Why would I not have 2 copies? This one literally just came in the mail today. So, yeah, Herald of Creation, another card. We're on to like the basics now. 0 tributes, just padding out. Not padding out, these cards are all obviously very good in their own right. Magician of Faith, have to have her, because that's just a free spell card back in your hand. Defender the Magical Knight, he came in the Spellcaster's Command deck. Magician's Souls, of course. I actually have 2 of these. Hey, guys. You want to buy this? £50. Come on, do it. Give me now. Landed in my plan. Woohoo! Okay. But yeah, this is obviously an amazing card and essential for a Dark Magician deck. You don't need me to tell you that. We got Magical Something. Pretty good just for spell counters and all that stuff. We got Crusader of Endymion. I love this card. This one came in the most recent Spellcaster deck. It's really good. 1900 attack. It's a Gemini. Obviously that puts a hindrance on its effect, but still good. Still good to have Breaker. Can't go wrong with Breaker. Got 2 of him. Can't go wrong with Breaker. Love him. Everyone knows what he does. And then we got the Pendulums. So, yeah. Again, I was... never had any extra deck monsters in this deck for the longest time. Really didn't want them. I did not know what Pendulums did, but I do now. And they're actually pretty good because I have a lot of monsters that you can just, obviously, like, fling out. Quite a few monsters with, obviously, higher levels requiring tributes. I did actually have 6 Pendulums in this deck, but I realized the amount of cards that I have in this deck that just allow me to special summon my spellcasters just like endlessly in like ad infinitum, is that the phrase? It kind of made the Pendulums not that important to bringing out monsters in my deck, so I cut back a couple just so I could put some more important cards in this deck. So we got 4. The Order of the Spellcasters deck did actually come with 4, but I've swapped one of those out for Black Fang Magician, which I found myself, because if it is his monster effect is that if he's destroyed, you can bring out a dark level 7 or higher spellcaster type monster from your graveyard. Do you know any of those? I do. And of course, transferring between monsters to Pendulums, we now have the spells. Spell Power Grasp, this came in the Order of the Spellcasters deck, and I only just added these cards to the deck recently because I didn't know if it was really worth it, but it is really good because this is just instantaneously, you can add a spell counter onto a card in your deck, and then bring out a second one, and add a second spell counter onto a card on the field, not the deck. But a lot of cards that have spell counter effects gain spell counters when a spell resolves. So if you're with me here, this is just an instant 4 spell counters on the field to a card for free. And also, card advantage. You're now 1 card shorter in the deck. Why would I not have that? Really good. Magical Dimension, 2 of those, another staple for spellcasters. Always good, because obviously quick play as well, you can do that on your opponent's turn. Zap one of them boys, gone. Mage Power. People also don't seem to like equip cards. You're wrong. You're probably not wrong, but Mage Power just seems. I mean, it was banned for a while, wasn't it? Because it's a broken card. You can pad out your entire back row. I've got lots of spells in this deck. You can just right away give your card 3,000 extra attack. Because yeah, whatever. And then Solidarity. Right. Okay. So I think this card rocks ass. I don't know if anyone else thinks that, but as soon as I found it, I was like, this card's crazy good. So if you only have one original printed type of monster in your graveyard, didn't notice, they're all spellcasters, baby. All face-up monsters you get gain 800 attack. And that's not an equip, that's just a continuous, it's just every monster you have on the field, really good. I guess if you're already kind of dominating the game with a bunch of high attack spellcasters, I mean, the only downside to this deck is that, like, obviously, Blue Eyes decks, Dragon decks, all these kind of Cyber Dragon decks, they have crazy attack points. Dark Magician caps out at 2,500. So if you're going for power, just brute force, you're not doing so hot with spellcasters. But this kind of amends that issue, because that gives Dark Magician 3,300 attack. This gives Dark Magician 3,000 plus attack. I don't know. I don't know. People say that equip cards and always like attack boosters just kind of slow down the game and just fill out your deck with bricks. I think they're cool. We'll see how I feel about that in the later years. Magicalized Fusion, as I said before. So this card is crazy good, and it is the reason that I have Quintet Magician and the Dark Magician in my deck, because you can bring out a fusion monster by banishing from your field and graveyard, and that could just be exclusively your graveyard. So if you just get all your cards out, you can just banish 5 dudes that are already dead and bring out Quintet Magician. 5 different names, opponent's field destroyed. What are they going to do? Then they lose 4,500 life points, so long as they don't have an Ash Blossom in the hand. Monster Reborn. Of course. Raigeki. Of course. Don't know if you noticed. Not first edition, but it is the Legend of Blue Eyes print. First ever pack. Then Harpy's Feather Duster. I'm proud of this one. This one came in the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship Tournament 2004 GBA game. It is a good looking secret rare right there. Actually, the music you're listening right now is from this very game. Very nice little tie-in. Don't talk to me. You didn't see that. And then we have the Magical Citadel of Endymion. 2 of! And this obviously is just a fantastic hub to just shelve all of the spell counters on there. Why would you not have 2 of those? I don't have a lot of playsets, that being 3 of 1 copy of a card in the deck. Dark Magician is the only one of which I have those, which I think a lot of people complain about. They don't like you having variety in your deck. You're supposed to have a lot of 3 of so that you can maximize having the exact same strategy every duel, but I don't like that idea. I like the fluidity of having different paths that I can go down to get my win. That may not be the best strategic approach, but I think it's the more fun approach. So if you're about to tell me that I should have 3 offs in this deck more often, I'm having fun. And you can't do anything about that. Dark Magical Circle, again. Dark Magical Circle, a fantastic spell card that you can just leave on your field. Gives another hefty buff to just having Dark Magician out on your field. Very good stuff like that. Spellbook of Wisdom, also from the Spellcasters, Order of the Spellcasters structure deck. Really good card. I also didn't have this in until recently, but it's quick play, so of course, on your opponent's turn, you can just make your card immune to spell or trap effects. Obviously, can't do both, but one of each. Pretty cool. And then we have Soul Servant, one of the other variant secret rares in the Legendary Duelist pack, along with the Dark Magicians. Fun little cheat. If you go to the store and you're after one of those Legendary Duelist boxes, you can just give them, Cashier's not looking, give them a little shake, like a and this little variant promo card will just slip right out from behind that booster pack, folks. That is how I've nailed these 2 cards with just only 2 of these boxes. The other cards in the packs, lucky pulls. But Soul Servant is a must-have. Amazing stuff. Kind of bothered by the fact that the text on the card is off-center. too low down. Went a bit insane about that after getting it, but it's fine. I'm over it now. I'm not obsessive. And then we're just down to my 4 trap cards. I used to have many more traps in my deck. I used to think you need lots of traps to build up a wall against your opponent, but I've learned that's not so competitively viable. It slows down the game. Trap cards obviously have a weight on them. You have to wait until your opponent's next turn, and they can just blow them off the field before you even get a chance to activate them. So what, I have like 16 spells in this deck now? 20 if you count the pendulums. And obviously all the spellcasters revolve around spells, so I cut my traps, boosted my spells. So let's see what 4 traps I kept in. And you're gonna be angry with me. I know you're gonna be angry with me. Metal Morph, kind of an oddball. It's an equip trap card. I just like it. Okay, I just like it. I got it in one of those battle packs, whatever it is, and it's got that nice little kind of prismatic sheet rare foil. Like, it's not like hollow art, it's like a normal common card, but then it just has this sheet of glimmer on it, which I think is quite cool. Mirror Force. Oh, Mirror Force. Did super well in its heyday, and I think was even banned, pretty sure it was banned, at least limited, and now no one gives a damn. Because they say it's too slow. Well, I say, it's really cool card art, and I like it, and I'm a little boy, and I want to have fun in my games, so I'm gonna have Mirror Force. Magician's Navigation, you've gotta have that. Just, again, essential support for Dark Magician. I can't remember where I got this from. LED 6? Light Emitting Diode? Pack 6? Sure, why not? And then lastly, we've got the Gargaga Shield, which I think, yeah, for the Gargaga Magician archetype, but obviously still works well for any spellcaster, because it's not limited to the archetype, just any spellcaster is immune, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, so it's immune twice per turn. Nice little backup equip there as well. So, good stuff. Let's just have a little look at what cards didn't quite make the cut. What I would like to call my maybe pile. So we have Acrobatic Magician, I think, yeah, so that's one that I pulled, and that was one of the 6 pendulums I had in here. He can, obviously called Acrobatic Magician, because he can kind of bounce between your Pendulum Zone, and that's wrong, Pendulum Zone and your Monster Zone, endlessly. Annoying to get rid of, but he doesn't really add much to the power of the deck. Magister of Endymion, that was the one that was in the structure deck that I took out. Just didn't quite do it for me. And then we have Dark Magic Veil that I drew from the movie pack. This is basically just a Monster Reborn for Dark Magician, but it costs 1,000 life points. I already have Monster Reborn because it's not a banned card, so didn't really need it. Magician of Chaos, I'm never going to put this guy in my deck because I think ritual monsters are crap. I know there's been like a lot of crazy support for them, but Magician of Chaos is not one. There's a whole situation with the Chaos ritual monsters, so obviously this guy gets summoned by Chaos form. The best ritual support card that people consider exists out there right now is Pre-Preparation of Rites, which I'm pretty sure allows you to search out a ritual monster and its summoning card from the deck. Amazing, because that's just 2 cards you get free. Already searched them out. But they have to correlate, as in the ritual card, the spell card has to list the monster's name in its text. Chaos form doesn't do that, because it just says, you can summon a chaos monster from this. So that's instantly just out of the play, because it doesn't have that support. Red Reboot, I might put this in, because everyone says this is the best trap card in the game right now. It's a hand trap, so you can activate it from your hand by paying half your life points. And it's, yeah, just a good card, I won't explain that. Grand Horn of Heaven, another good card. We, I think, looked at that in the Dinosaur deck. Book of Moon, again, just it's a really good spell card, but I can't find room for it yet. The other 16 spells I have, I know that sounds crazy, 16 spells, I can't figure out which one I could swap out to put Book of Moon in. So for now, it stays in the maybe pile. Mystical Space Typhoon, as time's gone on, I just don't see the need for it, even though it's an essential. The Gate Attack, you didn't see that. Everyone hates that card. Everyone thinks it sucks. I thought it was fine, it was in my deck till not long ago. We're not going to talk about it. Dark Magician of Chaos, that's just the common print that I got with the Order of the Spellcasters deck. Swap that out for an ultra rare that I picked up at a store. Just another print of Dark Magician. Sorcerer of Dark Magic. Now, I wanted this guy to be in my deck so bad, and funnily enough, the ritual, the pendulum cards actually give him a lot of support, because you can't bring him out until you sacrifice 2 level 6 or higher spellcasters on your field. Now, if you've gone through the effort to bring 2 level 6 or higher spellcasters out, are you also gonna have this card? Are you also gonna want to get rid of those 2 monsters to bring 1 card out with just pretty decent attack? It's just, it's not good enough for what it does or what it is. And I wish it was, because this card looks cool as shit. So much so that I got a crazy cool secret rare Japanese print off eBay, because we don't have an English print that is any form of rare. We've only seen a common version of this card in English. Make it happen, Konami. I want an ultra rare of this card in English, but it's still sick as hell in Japanese. Dwimmered Path, which, yeah, again, order the spellcasters. I just didn't see need for it. It's just like a monster reincarnation for spellcasters without a cost. Magical Beast Cerberus, he just wasn't good enough. He tried, and he just wasn't good enough. Ancient Rules, this was a really good card. I mean, it was just a cool concept. It's obviously called Ancient Rules because that's a reference to the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where people could just summon normal monsters regardless of tributes because, hey, 3 blue eyes on the field, no cost. I see what you're up to, Kaiba. So this kind of goes back to that. So you can just summon a normal monster, level 5 or higher, without a tribute. A special summon, actually, so it's even better than that. Obviously, that only applies to the Dark Magician in my deck, and something so specific that I can only use for 3 cards in my deck, kind of a brick otherwise. I just got rid of it. Nice novelty, but whatever. Countergate, actually a really good card. Kind of a nice little, like a shootout. Shoot from the hip, you know, like cowboys, they're like, Christ. So when an opponent declares an attack, you can negate it, draw 1 card, and if it's a monster, you can just special summon it. No, sorry, normal summon it in phase of attack. Does that mean if it's level 5 or higher, you can't normal summon it? I don't know, it's not in my deck, we don't have to worry about it right now. Ebon High Magician, I don't know if I'll put him in. I mean, my extra deck has space, I may as well. He's an alright card. The Tricky. Now, the Tricky, let's just go back, because until I pulled the Apprentice Illusion Magician, the Tricky was hanging around in my deck, and then I realized Apprentice Illusion Magician is literally just the exact same effect as the Tricky, exact same attack, but it just does more. So why would I keep this guy in when I could just swap him out for the Tricky too? And she's cuter, so. Dark Red Enchanter, he just didn't do enough for me. I actually put him back in recently, and he just didn't do enough for me, I'm afraid. Sorry, bro. Magical Exemplar, I think kind of just too weak on the field for it to carry out its effect when you need it to. Skilled Dark Magician, used to be in the deck, really good, but also, again, kind of slow. I have so many other cards that can bring out Dark Magician from anywhere, far faster, so I just took these guys out. Dark Magic Attack, Harpy's Feather Duster, but you need Dark Magician on the field. And Harpy's Feather Duster isn't banned anymore. Moving on. Magician's Robe. People say this card is really good. I'm still not quite seeing it, so he'll stay here for now. There's a good Chaos Sorcerer. Again, just a bit weak, slow, not as good as the other Chaos cards back in their heyday, which all got nerfed. This guy survived, because he wasn't as good. And then we have Endymion's Lab. Can't remember what that does. It's got cats on it, though. That's nice. And Old Vindictive Magician. Just like a Man-Eater Bug, but a spellcaster. So, that's where I stand on what I think kicks major ass in Yu-Gi-Oh! Feel free to tear my ass apart in the comments, and I'll probably take it very personally and get very upset, but that will not change the fact that I love the Dark Magician, and I always have. You know, he's just cool, okay? I know he may not be the ultimate wizard in terms of attack and defense, but I think he's still the ultimate wizard. Thanks so much for watching, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for not screaming at me if you didn't in the comments about how stupid my deck is. If you love Dark Magician like I do, feel free to let me know and I'll give you a digital high five. Don't know how I'll do that. I'll figure out a way. Oh, by the way, yeah, I've got these the Dark Magician's card sleeves, Konami official, because they're just really fun. They're just fun. People also don't seem to like the Konami official card sleeves, but I just think they're pretty neat, and I'm obsessed with this card art. I think it's gorgeous. If I could get a print like that on my wall, probably exists somewhere. I'll go have a look for that right now. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time. This is me, whatever my name is, out.